Hello YouTube, Jeff Steele here. Today's video topic is going to be on the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and my thoughts on if the government was going to infringe upon that, how would they do so? This is all pure theory. We're all hoping that does not happen. However, if it were to happen, how might that play out? Some of my thoughts on that. So looking at Australia as an example, back in 1997, they had a mass gun buyback. Now what they did was they added in an extra Medicare tax to help fund this program. And the idea was they would have this extra tax. Once the program was completed, they would then reduce the tax back to where it was before. However, they never reduced the tax. The increased tax remained, and then everybody was left without their firearms. So what would happen is they had these stations, and you would go in with your units, and they would evaluate them. They would estimate a cost on or what they would pay you for that given item, a value. They would give you a ticket, and then they would ship that off to that unit to a processing center to be further evaluated before you could get your money. Now, what happened? Say you had a high dollar AR, and that was valued at say $1,500 or $2,000. They ship it off to a processing center. In transit, it gets beat up, gets damaged. Where when they initially looked at it and gave you your ticket, it was in pristine condition. So after it made it to the processing center, it was beat up, dinged up. Now its value is $600. So that was a common theme during that program. Now, the U.S. had a similar program not too long ago where you could turn in a firearm. It was a general buyback. They were only giving $200 per unit, regardless of what it was, the condition that it was in. But that absolutely happened here in the U.S. a few years ago. Now, many people think, well, that would be great. I'd love that for that to happen, because then we could just go in and say, hey, well, the government's going to give you $200. I'll give you $300. And you can undercut the government on that. Well, the fact is, most of the individuals that would take advantage of such a program are probably not in your network of friends, family, and they would not, and probably not educated on firearms whatsoever or their values, and they probably wouldn't even be in your network for you to take advantage of that, even if you are deeply involved and have a vast network on social media. It's just highly unlikely. So my thought is the first plan of action that the government will take is they will try to do direct cash payments, very similar to what Australia did. Now, they might just print the money off, or they might come up with some special tax that they'll say, well, we'll do away with this after the program, but they'll probably never do away with the tax, just like Australia. And that'll be the first plan of action, direct cash payments. They'll give you a check. And a lot of people are absolutely going to take advantage of that, because think about it. They got grandpa's old 12 gauge sitting in the corner, rusting away, collecting dust. They don't know anything about values. They don't hunt. They don't target practice. They just thinking about that extra $500 that they can spend on Amazon or wherever. They're going to absolutely jump on that. So that will be the first wave, the first volley from the government. If that does not work, the next thing that you will see is they will start to implement heavy taxes and or required licenses and government stamps for anything and everything firearm related. Any type of magazines, suppressors, outside of what they already have required taxes on, ammunition, and the like, any type of firearms accessories. I have heard as high as $800 per firearm that you own for annual taxes. So say you have 5 guns, it would be 5 times 800 that you would have to pay every single year just simply for owning them. That would just be for the firearms themselves. And then they're talking about extra taxes implemented on ammunition, high capacity magazines, and we already have the tax stamp on fully automatic weapons, suppressors, which the last time I looked into it, it was, I think, if you were going to put a suppressor on a weapon, you paid for the suppressor, which was already substantial in cost, hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars. And then the tax stamp was a minimum of $200 that you had to pay. It was a one-time tax stamp. And that is specific to that particular unit, to that particular person. So if Johnny was going to sell the blue silencer to John, John would then have to get his own separate $200 tax stamp. And the last I checked, which was a couple of years ago, there was about a year to 2 year delay on the turnaround time of a tax stamp. So even if you had all the money in the world, wanted to make a purchase, you still had to wait up to 2 years for your tax stamp so you could legally get possession of your suppressor to use. So they're going to tax the heck out of you. This is wave 2 after they do the buyback. This is their next plan of action. Most people are not going to be able to afford the amount of taxes they are going to levy on firearms and all said equipment. They're just not. That's very much how a lot of Europe operates, especially in the UK. Only the upper elite, wealthy individuals own and use firearms. A lot of times, if it's a middle class or upper middle class individual wanting to participate in some type of hunting activity, they go to a sporting club who owns all the licenses and other taxes involved with the equipment, and that person just rents that equipment there on that property. It's highly regulated. You turn in that gear and you go home. You never have possession other than while you're on that property doing said activity. So that'll be the next wave. And after that, that is when, from what I understand, they're going to be doing a mass database basically to where you have to notate everything you own, even if you have things that are not technically registered in your name. That's when they're going to demand that basically you have to report everything that you own. And I would say the final phase would be where they send out boots on the ground to do heavy searches if they think you could possibly have something. And with most people on social media, and they have tons of data on everyone, it'll be rather easy for them to target individuals who they think might have inventory. And that's when you'll see boots on the ground. So this is the plan of action I think they will take. When and how far out this will start, how long the process will take. It'll probably take years. There are approximately anywhere from 100 to 200 million firearms owners in the US, which is a whole lot of people. And one other thought is in regards to the taxes and I would say as far as the registrations and the taxes portion of what I spoke on, depending on how fast they're able to collect those taxes, they'll probably also slow the government processes down as slow as they possibly can. So for example, I mentioned a couple of years ago, it would take upwards of 2 years to get a tax stamp for a suppressor. They might make that take 5 years, to whereby it takes so long, it will just completely deter you and annoy you on a level that you just don't want to deal with it, so you're not going to buy it. That will absolutely, they will throttle that processing, no question about it. They'll just say, well, we're undermanned, we don't have the personnel. we're having to spend the money in other areas. So that's my thoughts on if the Second Amendment is infringed upon, how it would be infringed. So what are your thoughts on the plan of action that they would take? How would they do it? Where would they get the money? Do you think they would be successful at it? I'm very curious as to what everyone thinks on this topic. It's a big deal, especially with the blue side controlling pretty much everything now in 2021. Many people think that these things are going to start happening within a matter of months. So share this video, comment down below, tap the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. All of it really helps out. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.